This is the Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. Episode 73, recorded September 8th, 2016. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TV Enthusiast podcast, The Weekly Set. I'm your host and editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast, Tyson Gifford, and joining me today, as always, is our keeper of comics, William Robrick.
Hello.
So today we're going to be talking a little bit about Mr. Robot, BrainDead, and the penultimate episode of Peaky Blinders. At least what's out of Peaky Blinders. There's another 2 seasons coming, but there's only 2 left that are out, and we're going to be talking about the penultimate of those.
Yeah.
Before that, though, I wanted to talk a little bit about Star Trek, because today, as we're recording on Thursday, it is the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, the original series.
Yes.
So I kind of wanted to just do a couple of the fan favorite kind of questions, and I wanted to run them by you, Will. So first off, right off the bat, who's the captain? Who's your pick for captain?
Mm-hmm.
Who's your favorite captain? Who's your favorite Starfleet captain?
Steve Rogers. I'm not. My favorite Starfleet captain. Jeez. I'm gonna go with Picard. I know it's boring. I know I should say Cisco. Cisco's awesome, but I haven't watched enough Deep Space Nine. So it's gonna go to Picard. Definitely not Janeway. So yeah, that's my pick.
Or the other guy, it was Scott Bakula's one.
Oh yeah.
Enterprise.
Yeah, Scott Bakula. His name escapes me now for whatever reason.
I just wrote it down like twice today, and I still can't remember it. Archer,
yeah, Captain Archer, yeah.
That's it.
He's all right. I mean, he's competent.
I'm gonna go with Cisco. I found him the most human of all of the captains.
Seriously, he's awesome. Deep Space Nine is awesome. Yeah, definitely.
He's definitely my favorite. After that, probably Picard. Never a big fan of Kirk.
I'm not a big Kirk fan either, to be honest. Kirk is just kind of comes off as, like the typical cowboy type protagonist, which, I mean, cool guy, gets stuff done. But he's
the Donald Trump of Star Trek.
Yeah. No, that would be Janeway.
So what's your favorite series of the Star Trek series?
My favorite series of the probably Deep Space Nine.
I'd say the same. I really like, although like a lot of people would say that the entire point of Star Trek is like the idea of going out and discovering new areas and stuff, and that kind of aspect is like at the heart of Star Trek.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Deep Space Nine's ability to kind of stay in one place and really dive deep into like the lore and the struggles and the issues of that one place.
Yeah, it's kind of, you would think like a Star Trek show centered in one spot could not be interesting at all because they're sitting in one spot the whole series. How freaking boring is that? But no, they actually made it the most fascinating, most interesting series of all the Star Trek series. I think the writing on that show was top notch. I mean, I say that still not having seen as much of Deep Space Nine as I saw of the other series. And that was mostly due to the fact that when I was watching Star Trek, I was watching it in syndication on television, like the Sci-Fi Channel, whenever
pre-DVR, pre-streaming services.
Not pre-DVR, like I had a DVR. It's just pre-streaming service. I'd say pre-Netflix. Because I was watching this stuff, so it was like you're kind of at the beck and call of like what they want to air, and it seemed like they didn't really want to air Deep Space Nine as much as they wanted to air every single other Star Trek series, including Voyager. I think Deep Space Nine came on at like 3 a.m. on some random channel. Yeah.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
So I didn't get a chance to see as much of that show as I wanted to.
I think all of the Star Trek series are supposed to be showing up on Netflix within a year or something.
Oh, okay.
And they got this huge deal with Star Trek where basically like the new Star Trek series that's coming out for CBS's streaming service, everywhere but the United States, that's going to be on Netflix.
It's going to be, yeah, that's such bullshit. That means if you're in the United States, you have to sign up for CBS's dumb service. And it's like, I'll just wait for the DVD. I'll just wait for it to come to Netflix. Because, I'm sorry, CBS, you want me to subscribe to you gotta have a robust lineup of quality. You gotta be like Netflix. You have to, the hits just have to keep coming. I have to get value out of that subscription besides, one show that I would be interested in.
I know that the first episode is supposed to actually air on CBS.
Yeah.
So I'll watch that, and then my plan is I want to see if they're going to be releasing it on, Google Play and Amazon and iTunes and the other places where you can actually buy the season. And I want to see what the rates are for the season at that point, and then weigh that against what it would cost to subscribe for the period that show runs, basically.
Right. Okay.
And see if it equals out, and find out which is better. And if it's not too terrible of a price, then I'll probably just buy it on, Google Play or whatever. But, I'm going to check the first episode first. Some Star Trek series just did not connect with me at all. Some did, I have I have really high hopes because it's Brian Fuller.
It's funny. It's funny because to me, every Star Trek series I've enjoyed to something, even Voyager, even the stupidest stuff in Voyager. I don't know. I just enjoyed it. It was just at its worst, it's dumb popcorn sci-fi, which is still has some factor, some enjoyment factor to it. I don't think I've ever watched Star Trek and thought this is just unwatchable.
Well, it's never been unwatchable. It's just there's so much to watch right now.
There is
in our current era.
So there's so much to watch right now. So
I suspect I'm gonna love it.
So I appreciate all the series. Actually, I do.
I'm gonna see how I feel about the first episode. If it's enough that I'm gonna be willing to buy it or subscribe for the period in which it's airing, then I'll do that. But it's like we've talked about a lot. There's a lot of TV on nowadays, and we can't possibly get through all of it. And I have to ask myself, is it worth it to subscribe to a service or buy a series on top of everything else I have, on top of paying for Netflix and Hulu and our cable and everything else and Amazon.
Exactly. You're paying for cable. You're paying for Amazon. You're paying for Hulu. You're paying for Netflix. I'm paying for HBO, possibly Starz, Showtime, and now CBS wants me to pay for. Hello.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, CBS. Look at what this is what you're competing with for my attention, for my money. Okay.
It costs less than Netflix or something, but it offers way less.
It offers way. So you're competing for both my time and my money. And if you want that, you gotta step up. You gotta step up to the competition, and you gotta come out and say, well, goddamn, why am I paying for HBO when CBS is this much better? You gotta make me think that. And I
think the series is going to fail miserably in the US, and it's going to blow up huge.
You know what?
And then maybe season 2, they'll just go, fuck it, we'll just put it all on Netflix.
Yeah, fuck it. Because I feel bad for. I do feel bad for Brian Fuller here because dude cannot catch a break. I have no doubt he is going to put his heart and soul into this to make this something special and amazing, like he does with all his shows, like he did with Hannibal, like he did with, everything that he did before. I have no doubt about it, but it seems like he is always getting screwed over.
I think he'll do fine just because of the international from Netflix.
Yeah.
I think it'll fail. I think it'll do really poorly in America. It'll actually do more than probably what I'm expecting it to do in America, just because there's some diehard Trekkies that are going to just do it, But beyond that, I think it'll do really well outside of the US. And I think that those numbers might come back, and at that point they're going to look at it and go like, well, should we do a season 2? It kind of bombed in America. And then they'll say, yeah, it bombed in America on CBS All Access. And it blew up everywhere else on Netflix. Let's just make it a Netflix original. And I think at that point, that's what it needs to be, you know? And I'm kind of surprised it hasn't just switched to that already before it even aired, you know? Like that they didn't just say, you know what? Fuck this plan. This isn't going to work. Let's just put it on Netflix. I don't know what they're expecting to get from this. I don't know why. Maybe it's just an experiment for them.
Why CBS has their own streaming service anyway? It's stupid.
Maybe this, using Star Trek as an original on a streaming service, for their content is like an experiment into if CBS can branch off and do something like a Netflix. And maybe they don't care that Star Trek won't do that well in America because they just want the data to see like what happens if they put something that's really high profile exclusive to this. What happens? You know, is the piracy rates going to go through the roof? Are they going to get subscribers? Like they're not going to get enough subscribers to be worth it for them, but are they going to get enough subscribers that it's like, it'll give them good data? You know, like I think this is a data move for CBS. That's the only way it can make sense to me. Otherwise, I just can't understand why they would try this. Why they wouldn't just put it on, if nothing else, just on CBS, on their actual broadcast channel. I mean, it's big enough that it should be. So
it's big enough that it should be, exactly. So I don't know. We'll have to see what comes of this.
I think it's a data move, but
it's definitely a data move. It's a power move to try and push this service and to see if they can get away with having a service like this. Less so
to get a service that works like that, and more so just to see if they can.
It's CBS, so they can't. Literally, their portfolio is we got Star Trek and nothing else.
We got Star Trek and a bunch of procedural reruns.
It's like, so no, you can't. You're CBS. You would have to like dramatically ramp up investment in original programming that's not the same dumb procedurals you air on your dumb network every fall. And I don't see that happening.
I just have a feeling that at the TCAs or the upfronts or one of the events coming up after the season airs, they're going to do this big data dump report about all the information they got because of Star Trek. And it's just going to come out that they really had no intention of keeping the streaming service. It was just a data measurement. It was just them saying, okay, we know cord cutting's a thing. We know that we need to find an alternative way of bringing in viewers and through cable subscribers. And this was like an experiment to see, it's a controlled experiment to see, we only have this one show. Is that one show enough to get people to subscribe or not? And to use that information to make a choice for their next move after that. That they don't even care about this streaming service. They just want the data about if this would work or not. And I have a feeling that that's going to come out after the first season, finish it. And then everyone in America that had to pay for, CBS All Access to watch it is just going to be pissed. So you used us as a data sample. Thanks. But yeah, I just have a feeling that that's what it's about. So, we talked a lot about Star Trek Discovery here, the new series, and just about Star Trek in general and what we like about it. So if you like Star Trek too, if you have memories of Star Trek and you want to share them, send an email to contact@TVEnthusiast.com or the weekly set at TVEnthusiast.com, or leave a comment in any of our articles, a YouTube channel, whatever, any way you can reach us. But now we're going to move on to what we've been watching over the past week. So first
that last segment really derailed from talking about Star Trek to bitching about CBS and their service.
But it was a good talk. So
it was a good talk, yeah.
So first up from what we've been watching, we're going to talk about Mr. Robot, which is probably my favorite show airing right now. How about you, Will?
I'll say that. I'll say that. It's an interesting show.
Yeah.
I'll certainly say
it
that.
It is summer, so there's not a lot airing right now. It's all coming up in the next couple months.
I had to think about that because I'm thinking, nope, Mr. Robot is the one show I'm enjoying more than anything right now. And I mean, what can you even say to describe it? You know, it's so far out and insane. This episode was great, by the way. This episode was fantastic.
The episode we're going to be talking about isn't the current week's episode. We're talking about episode 2.7, inits.fve. I believe that's what it's supposed to be. In the weird leet type that they put all the episode titles on. This is the episode in which, in the last episode we found out that, or in the last couple episodes, I guess we found out that, 2 episodes ago, I think, we found out that Elliot, had been in jail, and then everything we've seen of him in season 2 was actually him in jail, and it was him lying to us about his circumstances, but with the actual events that were happening to him occurring. This is the episode that picks back up on that. Whereas last week's episode was completely free of Elliot. This week's episode picks up with Elliot in jail. You find out what he's in jail for, which is, if you remember in the last season, there was that scene where, his therapist X approached the therapist and was saying, you know, this guy hacked me. I know he was one of your patients. You know, the FBI want to get him and everything. Well, that caught up to him. And that's what he was arrested for hacking this therapist. He pleads guilty immediately, against counsel. Even the judge is like, are you sure that's what you want to do? And he's like, yes. And he does that because he's scared of Mr. Robot and the power that he wields over him. And he just kind of wants to, put him in a place where he's under control. And so he figures, well, I'll go to prison.
Yep, yeah. That was pretty funny too. Because yeah, you can see like Mr. Robot like railing against it, but yeah, it turns out that Elliot just sends himself to prison in order to stop Mr. Robot. In an effort to stop Mr. Robot.
We find out that Ray, we were kind of wondering when he went to prison, well then what was Ray? How did he have access to
Ray
these things?
I love how this episode opened. It opened with Elliot recount. Now that we got like the major reveal of what was really going on, Elliot then spells out for you exactly what everything was, the way it really was. And they go over, we see like the one guy that was Ray's henchman. He was a prison guard. We find out Ray was the prison warden who was having computer issues. And we find out like everything is revealed under this new light. And so like all the questions that you had about like, what about this? What about this? You know, it's kind of answered. He runs it down for you at the beginning of the episode.
It's like a checklist. He just kind of goes.
He just kind of goes through it. He's like, okay, so now you're caught up.
It ends up that he was sentenced for 18 months, but in the episode, he's already being released. He's released after 86 days because Dark Army.
Yep, because the Dark Army has him released. And this episode is pretty interesting because he gets out, you know, he reunites with his sister and he kind of reunites. But again, with this episode, we see them taking on the tropes of a horror film. Like this episode this episode consistently throughout the episode is tense. It has a very strong horror vibe, and that is all because Elliot is losing control or seeming to lose control, because there are moments where Elliot's just there and then all of a sudden Mr. Robot is there acting, and then Elliot becomes aware of this and he has panic attacks where he has panic attacks where he's trying to stop Mr. Robot, and then it snaps back and he's in Mr. Robot's spot.
It's really cool, like the way they did it too.
Yeah.
Like you'd see him sitting on the couch and it would flicker between him and Mr. Robot.
Yeah.
It just was really cool. I mean, very Fight Club-esque.
It was very Fight Club-esque. It was very, this episode more than any seemed to indicate that this whole split personality thing going on with Elliot is it's sort of unraveling. You know, it's becoming to a point where it's getting worse for Elliot, because now, like, there isn't, like, no real controlled, like, snapping in and out of it. It's kind of like Elliot is Elliot, then, oh crap, you know, Mr. Robot has taken over and done something, and then Elliot regains control, and Elliot has no idea what just happened.
It's funny because the slug line that they used to advertise this season was "Control is an illusion."
Yeah.
Which is exactly what's happening here.
Which is exactly what's happening here. And this is kind of like the thrust of the whole episode. The whole episode is basically they're getting together. The FBI. There was a scene earlier in the episode, because we're still dealing with the repercussions of Elliot's sister, Darla, killing that woman from the last episode. Darlene killing that woman from the last episode.
Yeah.
And there's this part, I think this was this episode, there's a part where they record an FBI conversation, and they upload, you know, it's this type of thing that completely embarrasses the FBI, because they catch the FBI
I think that was the last episode.
Was that last episode? That was probably last episode. But this episode, they decide that they're gonna figure out what the Dark Army is up to.
What stage 2?
Yeah, because there's this thing that comes up, stage 2, and they decide that they're gonna figure out what that is. And Elliot comes up with this idea, which is basically, you know, to hack a phone so that they can listen in to their conversations on their end,
and then stir up the conversation with them so that they report back to their superiors.
Which leads to our major revelation at the end of the episode, where stage 2 was Mr. Robot's idea.
Yeah.
Or essentially, or they say, you know, it's Elliot's idea, but you know, Mr. Robot came up with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how the episode ends, with that, like, oh shit revelation. Because Elliot doesn't know about stage 2. But when they come back with the chatter, they're like, you know, Dark Army chatter says, you know, I don't know why he's asking about that. That's his plan.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh shit. So you immediately, like, this is Mr. Robot is definitely up to something, and Elliot does not know what that is. Nobody but Mr. Robot knows what that is.
There's actually another scene after that. That's not the final scene of the episode, because there's a scene after it in which Elliot is outside of his apartment and he sees Tyrell Wellick's SUV.
That's right. With Tyrell Wellick's fiance, or I guess like widow, maybe
or wife, or we don't know.
We don't know.
According to Mr. Robot, it's the widow, but
yeah, I don't think it was was it ever established if they were a married couple or not?
I think so. I think in the first season they mentioned that, but I don't know.
Okay,
I can't say specifically.
For sake of simplicity, let's just say Tyrell Wellick's widow shows up in his SUV.
Yeah.
And that was actually the final scene. Because it was kind of a holy shit, because you were thinking maybe it was going to be Tyrell Wellick himself, for the stinger. But it wasn't. So his fate is still unknown.
I still think the most tense, crazy scene of the first season of Mr. Robot is the moment when Elliot encounters Joanna Wellick for the first time.
Yeah, that was crazy.
All they're doing is talking, and it's creepy as fuck.
It's creepy as fuck, yeah, because it's creepy as fuck because, like, because Joanna is trying to manipulate Elliot, and Elliot, not being a total idiot, Elliot being a very perceptive person, instantly realizes this and tries to deflect it, making for like one of the most tense, awkward encounters in the entire series.
She's like trying to burrow into his skull, you know? It's crazy.
Yeah. it's nuts.
So one other scene I want to talk about this episode as well that was really crazy, was White Rose, the leader of the Dark Army, also known as Zhang, the minister of finance, is it, for China or something like that?
I think he's the minister of finance. Yeah,
he's in America pissing on the grave of the former CEO of E Corp.
Yep, talking about how that CEO threatened his project that he had. It seems like Zhang has a stake in that, I guess in that project that led to the cancer of Elliot's dad.
The leak at the plant.
Yeah, the leak at the plant. It seems like he has a stake in that plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so apparently, that was going to be threatened, so he had the former CEO of E Corp killed over it. And basically, he's making all these threats, but so he has a meeting with the current CEO of E Corp.
Who's an incredibly intimidating presence, by the way, that actor.
Yeah,
he's like operatic.
He is. He's very operatic. He's incredibly intimidating, and he's even more intimidating at the fact that he is not intimidated by Zhang, even though
he's well aware of what Zhang did.
Yeah, he's well aware of what Zhang did, and maybe even who Zhang is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he still just does not care. He's not intimidated. He says, "I will not be so easily taken out," meaning like his predecessor before him.
Yeah, meaning his predecessor. He calls himself a mercenary. Which is so he almost challenges Zhang to go ahead and make threats, or try to make an attempt on his life. He said that wouldn't change anything.
Besides that, Angela had some story that was mostly boring. She did have an encounter with the FBI agent who basically was like, "I know you're involved in this and you're running out of time and options." And basically scared Angela quite a bit.
Oh yeah, that FBI agent, that we've been following this season, visited Angela. They should just call Angela's character Mrs. Robot.
And she used the rubber ducky, which is that USB drive that she got from Darlene, used it to get some files from E Corp to find out a little bit more about the gas leak. Ended up finding out it was never fixed. And she wants to report it, but she's kind of conflicted. And then she has that encounter with the FBI agent that just really rattles her.
Yeah.
And so that's what's happening in Angelaverse.
Yeah, in Angelaverse.
Overall, it's a really exciting episode. I loved the two things that stand out to me the most in this episode are the encounter between White Rose and the head of E Corp, the current CEO of E Corp, and the scenes of Elliot and Mr. Robot flickering between each other.
Yeah, all the scenes of Elliot and Mr. Robot, just really just the way they're presented. He definitely uses horror movie tropes and framing when he did those scenes, which made them incredibly tense. Sort of like you felt you were suffering along with Elliot in those scenes.
Definitely.
Those were probably the best scenes of the episode.
And I'm really excited about Joanna Wellick interacting with Elliot again.
I'm really excited about that. Especially since Elliot his grip seems to be loosening more and more as this episode has shown.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely going to be interesting, and maybe we will find out the true fate of Tyrell Wellick.
That's going to be a discussion for another week, because now we're going to move on to BrainDead. So we're going to be talking about season 1, episode 10, titled The Path to War Part 2, The Impact of Propaganda on Congressional War Votes. As they always do with BrainDead, really long, elaborate titles.
Yeah.
Every title to an episode sounds like a grad student's thesis.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Kind of funny naming convention.
So in this episode, we have Laurel working with her ex-boyfriend to create a political documentary, but it's mostly like
It's anti-war, yeah. Anti-Red Redis. It's the anti-war resolution that Red Redis is trying to push. Actually, like all the infected are trying to push. Because we find out this isn't like a Red Redis. This is a concerted effort between everybody that we can confirm is infected on the show is pushing this war. So, even people who are normally at odds are coming together. So like she's making this anti-war documentary, but like her boyfriend who's making it is like, is like disproportionately like concerned with the 1%.
That was cracking me up every time they'd cut back to like, and who benefits from it? The 1%. It's cracking me up every time it was going back to that. It's really funny. He's almost comes across like he's bug infected as well. It doesn't seem to be the case by the way the story progressed and everything with him, but he comes across that way, that like extremist way, like where he just goes and latches onto this like far angle thing which is one of the big symptoms of the infected.
Yeah, you're right. So
he comes across that way, but I don't think he is based on like the kind of direction they were going with the story.
Yeah, but with the way they were going with the story never really does anything to suggest that he's infected.
It's just the way he acts. Yeah, it's just
the way he acts. Yeah,
but it seems to like based on even kind of like Laurel's own perception of it that this is just the way he's always been. He's just a very like extremist political person,
Right. Like,
and he's just always been that way.
Getting that crazy, that crazy infected guy in there, who threatened Laurel with the knife, and like Laurel's like, well, this guy is nuts. What are you doing? And he pushes him on purpose to get a reaction so he could have something for his documentary, even though like it's crap and it's, he provoked it. Which Laurel like heavily disapproves of, stuff like that. And then when he finishes the documentary, he leaves, and then Laurel takes all of his work, edits it up, adds her own stuff and makes it hers.
Adds a bit of sanity to it.
It goes viral and it ends up stopping the war resolution from passing.
But it's interesting that one of the things that she made sure to do that she completely edited out was Gareth. Who the original documentarian had tricked into meeting with them so that he could kind of bombard him with like all these questions that he wasn't prepared for and kind of run like kind of ambush him unfairly. He's going to use that footage. Laurel deleted that out too. Completely, which some of that could have actually been useful in the way it was used, so that shows like her personal feelings playing a part in there more than just like her own instincts and the way she wants to portray the documentary. But that was kind of like an interesting thing there. There's another plot going on throughout the episode, which is that Laurel is having some serious concerns about her brother's baby.
Yeah. This is it.
Who was still in the stomach at the time the episode starts.
But he kicks every time he hears Donald Trump speak. which is
who can blame him?
Yeah, yeah. Who can blame him? This is what causes Laurel to get paranoid about the health of this baby. Is the baby kicks every time Donald Trump speaks. Now, initially, Laurel was worried about her just because she was pregnant and because she knew her brother was sleeping around and still doing it. And a lot of this episode was Laurel telling her brother not to sleep around, and then we get these scenes of
him sleeping around.
Him sleeping around. Him trying to go to his various mistresses, which is funny. And he's trying to tell them that he's done with them, that he has a woman, but they're just like, they can't accept the rejection, and he gives in. Way too easy.
So he goes to talk to all of them to tell them this is over, and ends up sleeping with all of them. Yeah. Which is really funny. But the baby issue comes up because Laurel's concerned about this. Everything starts going on. She starts getting really paranoid about the possibility that the baby's infected, to the point where even like her friends are like, lay off, this is probably not a thing. One of the doctors checks it out, and he's like trying to tell her, hey, you're putting your sister-in-law in a bad place by freaking her out with your behavior. Seems to kind of get through to Laurel. Then he walks away and his phone rings.
And his ringtone is that damn song.
Which just drives her completely to another level of paranoia.
Yeah.
But the episode ends after everything where you're kind of like unsure what's going on with
the baby.
the baby. What do you call those things? The satellite things or whatever above the babies.
Oh God, I don't know. I don't.
And it's playing the song.
But yeah, the song it's playing this sort of lullaby, like children's lullaby rendition of this song.
It's just kind of nightmare fuel. Like it's the show's really funny, and this episode did a lot of really funny things in it, but just the whole thing about the idea of a bug infected baby is horrifying.
Yeah, it is horrifying.
I was like cringing as I watched it. I was like, oh God, like no.
Yeah, no, I was like, I'm hoping that's not the case, but I guess it is.
Yeah, seems to be. Do you have anything else to say about the episode?
Nope. Interested to see where it goes, though.
Okay, then let's move on now, and let's talk about our show club, the penultimate episode of our second show club. Our first was Twin Peaks. This one is Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders.
So we're going to be talking about season 3, episode 5, or episode 17 of the series proper.
One reason this episode is notable, and it's the return of an old friend.
Who just shined gloriously throughout the episode.
Yeah, he made the episode. I'm sorry.
So the episode begins, Tommy is recovering in the hospital. Takes him 3 months to recover. He is just in bad shape from what happened to him. You see him, like, he had his head shaved and, like, this massive scar on his head, where they had done surgery for the bleed, on the internal bleed. And yeah, he was just in a very bad place. And so he finally is starting to recuperate.
He's taking morphine.
Yeah, he's taking lots of morphine and
he's just like drinking that down like it's freaking beer or something.
And towards the end of his stay, he gets visited by Michael, his cousin, Polly's son, who seems to imply that this priest, this Father Hughes, that did this to him and that he had tried to kill, that Michael was actually in his care for a period of time after he was taken away from his mother as a child.
Yeah.
And that he was abused by this father.
Heavily applied. He doesn't come out and say it, but he doesn't say it. He implies it because all he says is he knows that priest, and then he asks Tommy to teach him how to shoot so that he can do it himself.
And he asks to be the one that can kill him.
Yeah.
And Tommy agrees.
Yeah.
So Tommy is finally released to his home. He dumps the morphine out completely.
Yep. Gets rid of it.
Because for what he states, it's because he's having bizarre dreams about his housekeeper
reading the Bible
over him naked.
Yeah.
Which, based on our suspicions for that character, that might not be drug-induced thing. That might actually be something that's happening.
Yeah, that might actually be something that's happening.
But Tommy's was freaked out by the dreams of it, so he dumps some morphine. He tells the housekeeper that she seems a little taken aback in a way, almost like to more greatly push in the direction that this might actually have been something that happened. Just kind of like the way she reacts when she's away from Tommy. Like we kind of see her face and her reaction,
Yeah.
I'm more certain than ever that she's that priest, person in his house. And I think that's going to end up coming back to bite Tommy in the ass. I think throughout the whole series, we've seen that Tommy is really good at broad strokes with these master plans and these really high detail plans that are outside of his scope, but he doesn't see things that are right in front of him.
Right, exactly. He's a bit nearsighted, you could say.
Or farsighted.
Yeah, farsighted. That's when you can't really see stuff close to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of farsighted, Tommy, when he's back home, he gets, the blinders, they visit, they're in the kitchen, and then a traveling Jew, as I guess that he's introduced.
Traveling Jew. As soon as they said that, I knew who it was.
Yeah.
This is such a welcome return for me because I just love this character. I love I love Tom Hardy's portrayal of this character. And yeah, he is a very welcome presence in this episode. Because I think he injects some livelihood into the episode.
Tommy wants to use him for his plans, to rob the Russians that he doesn't think are going to pay him. And so brings him there to talk to him about it. It was great, just the way he'd say Tom Hardy's character would say well, why should I help you? And he said, and yet you came. And he said, I just happened to be in the neighborhood. In a different city. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you have the moment when I said, speaking of, when I was talking about farsighted, Tommy talks about how he's going to need glasses now because of the brain damage he suffered.
Oh, yeah.
And, Alfie is pulls out his own pair of glasses, basically saying been there, done that. Implying that basically the same kind of thing happened to him, that he also suffered a damage like that. Makes a big kind of whimsical way of putting it, saying that, not only do these glasses allow him to read, but they allow him to see the future.
Yeah.
And what is yawn about? And then it's basically saying, because this has happened to him before.
Because this has happened to, yeah, exactly.
Saying that his future, his present is Tommy's future, basically. The stuff that he has to deal with is what Tommy's going to have to deal with because he's already been there. It's just a very whimsical way of putting it, which is the great thing about Alfie's character. He's just, he has a way with words.
He has a way with words. There's this real tense where he's needling Arthur about his newfound religion.
It cracked me up the moment that Arthur came into the room and Alfie spreads his arms and he's Arthur!
Shalom. Yeah.
Truly one of the best moments of the episode, just that. And then he's getting right under Arthur's skin, just completely mocking him for finding Jesus and
yeah, to the point where Arthur grabs a glass ashtray and really tries hard not to use it to bash Alfie's skull in. You can see he's trying really hard not to.
And you can see Tommy's kind of nervous and is trying to tell him with his eyes, don't.
Yeah, don't, yeah.
That progresses fine, though. It turns out that Alfie's going to be part of this plan, and it ends up being he's going to be able to be a presence within the vault to inspect the jewels, basically. He can value them. But what we see before that is that we start to see other parts of Tommy's plan, and that includes he bought land right outside of the Russian estate or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And he orders the Lee family and the other gypsy families to basically park there in that land to basically I guess to disguise that they're digging a tunnel there.
Yeah.
And they're digging a tunnel straight trench warfare style, right into the vault. And of course that means, Tommy dug trenches in World War I. So who does he bring into town? All his old war buddies.
Mm-hmm.
All his old trench diggers that went with him. So they're there to dig those trenches to help him. Meanwhile, in addition to that, you see other parts of his plan coming together. He gets together with the Soviets, and they disarm the tanks.
Yeah, they
make it so the tanks can't fire. They take out the firing pins, and the Soviets promise they're going to do the same with their guns. So basically, they're just going to do like a fake war. They're going to fake confront each other with weapons that don't work on either side, so that none of them get killed in the whole process. So that's kind of working out. That's continuing part of Tommy's plan. But Tommy has to go and get into the safe. So they go to, the Georgians, the Russians' stately home. I'm reading from the description there. Guarded by Cossack soldiers.
Yep.
They're just all over the place in that house. And they go in, Arthur and, John have to strip down naked and get inspected.
Yep.
Arthur's trying to be his, prudish, born again self. But he has a moment where he's just fuck it, and pulls off his underwear.
Yeah.
And then immediately goes into an orgy.
Immediately goes into an orgy. It is because that one Russian princess is just a complete lunatic.
I think we got that last episode, and she was,
we did.
God, she was fucking insane.
She was insane, yeah.
We gotta get in this episode with her, getting Tommy into autoerotic asphyxiation.
Yeah.
It's oh, great. Now he's into this, in order for him to fuck the ghost of his ex-wife, or his,
of his widow,
wife,
his dead wife. Oh my God, yeah, she's insane woman.
Yeah, completely crackers, yeah. Solomon is with Tommy in the vault to sort out, $70,000 or 70,000 pounds worth of, jewels and just different things that they have in this vault, basically, that are going to be put aside for him and then apparently given to him, though probably not really. Alfie uses this moment to reveal that his mother was chased down by dogs by the Russians.
Yep.
And he has no love for them.
He can speak Russian himself, because when that Russian aristocrat tries to talk about Alfie in Russian, Alfie then turns around and reveals to him he understood every word he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of taking them back. And then he immediately basically does what he did to Arthur, but in a much less playful way to these Russians, especially the head of the household, who's we've kind of been seeing as kind of a buffoon, this the Duke or whatever of the place, is just really just laying insult into him the entire time he's inspecting the jewels. It's he pulls out a necklace and he gets the guy to agree with him that it's great and everything, and then he's no, you're shit. This is look at this gunk holding this together. This is
it's this
crap. You have no eye.
If somebody came into my shop with this, I'd make them eat it.
Yeah. Completely humiliating the guy. And you can see him fuming, that the Duke is just fuming with the insolence of the insults towards him.
Yep.
Greatness from Alfie Solomon again.
Yeah, he's fuming. Alfie don't give any fucks whatsoever. He just does not. It doesn't matter who he's dealing with.
They go through a bunch of the jewels, including a Fabergé egg.
Oh yeah, which Alfie insists on, because, which also upsets the Duke as well, because they didn't want to give up a Fabergé egg. but Alfie insists on it.
I don't know about you, but every time I hear Fabergé egg, I think about that episode of The Simpsons where you find out that Bleeding Gums Murphy, his addiction was Fabergé eggs.
Oh, yeah.
And he lost all his money buying Fabergé eggs.
Yeah.
All I can think of whenever I hear about Fabergé eggs. That's a little off tangent, but let's move on. Let's see here. Polly and Michael visit Ada in London. She's officially joining the business.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Michael's eager to kind of get away and use the phone. They think it's because he's whipped. In reality, he's basically ordering an abortion for his girlfriend who doesn't want to have a baby, and it's just wrecking him.
It's just, it's just wrecking. He's just a terrible mess, and since he's not willing to share what's going on, nobody knows, and so nobody takes it that seriously.
Mm-hmm. John ends up meeting their spy inside the Cossack ranks.
Yeah.
Gets, who's clearly is barely hanging in there. Yeah. Trying to think what else here. Polly finally gets it down with the painter.
Yep.
He finished his painting.
He finished his painting of her.
She reveals to him that she killed,
that she killed
Inspector Campbell.
Inspector Campbell, yep.
And at the end of the episode, Polly is snooping around in Michael's office and finds what she thinks is like an engagement ring box or something. And she's all like, ooh, and wants to see it because she thinks she doesn't know that he got an abortion for his girlfriend. He thinks he's just completely in love and he's gonna, ask her to marry him and everything. And so she opens this up expecting to see a ring. Instead, what she finds is a bullet with Father Hugh's name carved into it, which is a throwback to something we saw in the first season when the Lee clan did that to Tommy.
Yep.
And they had given him a bullet scratched in. We find out she leaves, she goes and she talks to Tommy. We find out that was actually the bullet that Tommy was originally going to use and didn't get to use to kill Father Hughes.
Oh, yep.
And passed that on to Michael. Polly is very against Michael being involved in the hit, even when Tommy basically spells it out. Again, never says it outright, but spells out almost entirely that, Michael was molested by this priest.
Right.
And that Michael should have a right to kill him and that he's never going to get closure to his trauma if he doesn't. And even with that, Polly is like, he will not be the gunman. He will not be the one to kill him. If he does, I will tear down this whole family. Which is just implying, seems to me like Michael probably will be the one to kill him.
Yeah.
And so begins the conflict for season 4.
So begins conflict for season 4. Nice. Good episode. Now we're in the finale for season 3. It's going to be wild.
The final episode of our show club, our second show club. And you can watch along with us if you want. Sending comments, like I've said before, on YouTube, on our, website's comment section. Email us, contact at TVEnthusiast.com or the weekly set at TVEnthusiast.com. And you can reach out to us and comment and watch along with us. There's 18 episodes total to watch through before next week, and you can watch the entire series and go back to these episodes and listen to what we had to say about them as you watch. But that's it for this week. One reminder I wanted to put out there is that on September 22nd, we'll be doing Advocates of Great Television for our 75th episode. I still have not been able to track down Ed. I've been trying to contact him. He mentioned before in the podcast that he's working on a film, so I imagine he's just super busy.
Right.
We might end up having to go with somebody else. Next week, though, we should have our picks made, and we should announce them on the show.
Okay.
So make sure to get your pick. The rule is, this is a show from your childhood. Let's say, no specific age range, but just say like pre-high school, I guess. You know, like formative years. A show from your formative years, a show that you loved from your formative years, and something that is findable. We don't want a show that like is just unavailable on any service. So,
right.
Those are the rules for the show. We'll announce our picks on next week's podcast, and then the week after, on September 22nd, we will do Advocates, and that'll be our 75th episode, and the end of season 3, because we have seasons here too.
Yes.
So, thank you everybody for listening to the podcast. You can reach me at Tyson Gifford on Twitter. You can reach Will, at Voxel Hero. And, until next time, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more coverage of all